Hello, so today I want to show how to change a flat tire. First, what you want to do is release your brake caliper, and if you don't have a bike stand, that's okay. You could just flip your bike over like this, and that should do the trick. Then you want to get a wrench. This one is adjustable, so it works very well for the job. It is an IKEA wrench, don't judge me. So if you don't have a quick release, this will be useful for taking your wheel off. You might need to apply a lot of force, so be prepared for that. So then once you have the wheel off of your bike, you want to unscrew the valve cap and then this washer that keeps the valve in place as well. So you want to unscrew the valve and make sure that you get out any remaining air. You do that by pressing down on the valve and squishing the tire itself. And then make sure that you have a tire lever. This will help you take the tire off. So you want to go around the tire and push the bead, and sometimes it can kind of stick to the rim of the wheel. So you just want to go around and make sure that you're freeing it up. And yeah, make sure you have some gloves if you can, or if you don't mind. It's a pretty dirty job. So then you're going to take the lever and jam it underneath the tire, and then you're going to go all the way around the rim of the tire, freeing it up so that it's overlapping the wheel. And then as I'm doing now is I'm pulling out the old tube all the way around so that we can put in a new tube. It can get a little tricky when it comes to the valve. You have to again apply some force to the tire so that you can release the valve and pull it out of the wheel. So then you want to try to figure out what caused the flat if you're not sure already. So it's always useful to inflate the old tube just enough so that you can inspect the tube all the way around to see if you can hear where the air is coming from. So that will help you determine where in the tire, if there might be some debris, and then what kind of hole there is. You can determine if it was like a pinch flat, if your tire wasn't inflated properly, or if something got in there that was sharp and caused the puncture. So here I am, I'm just checking the tire, the outside and the inside, going all the way around, making sure that I don't see or feel anything. And then we're going to check the rim tape as well, make sure that there's no damage to the rim tape, make sure that the spoke holes aren't exposed because those can be pretty sharp, and make sure that there's no visible cause. You also want to make sure that the valve hole here isn't exposed as well. So then grab your new tube and inflate it just a little bit, just enough to be able to work with, but not too much. So here I am pumping up the tube. Once you're satisfied, you can pull the pump off and then make sure you're closing the valve so that none of the air escapes. So then you're going to start off first by putting the valve through the wheel into the valve hole. Can be kind of tricky. I'm struggling a little bit here. Once you get it through and it's snug, then you're going to want to pull the tire over that section first. So you may have to play around with or adjust the amount of air that's in the tube just so that you can get it all into the tire. So I'm going around and I've actually inflated this tube a little bit too much, so I'm going to have to deflate it just a bit so that I can fit it into the tire. So I'm just going to open up the valve and then press down on the valve, release some air, and then tuck the tube in. And you want to make sure that the tube is as flat as possible. You don't want any bunching because that will cause problems when you inflate it, and then potentially a flat in the future, which we don't want. So yeah, once the tube is all tucked in, you want to go around the rim of the tire and then tuck the tire into the rim of the wheel. So it's pretty easy up until you get to the last part. That requires a lot of thumb strength. I had to call in a bit of reinforcement. I had to use my tire lever to help kind of pry the remaining part of the tire over. Depending on the size of the tire, sometimes you won't have any problems, but I find the thinner the tire, the harder it is to get it all the way over. So I eventually got it, and then so now you're just going to release the valve again so that you can reinflate it. So I'm just kind of demonstrating how this Presta valve works. There are two different kinds. This is a Schrader valve. This is like more common. You can find them on cars as well. So it's just kind of demonstrating how they function, because some people can get a little bit confused. So yeah, when the wheel is on and you're confident that it's straight in your fork, you can tighten the nuts by hand and then go in with your wrench and apply as much hand strength as you can, and then give your wheel a spin and make sure that everything is even. So on the edge of the tire, it will give you the recommended PSI as well as the size of the tire. So if you're ever curious what size of tube you might need, it'll say right there, and also the recommended PSI. My pump doesn't have a PSI gauge, but it is helpful to have one. A good way to kind of go by is giving the tire a squeeze as you go, and if it's hard and you can't push it in, at least for this type of tire, for a road tire, you want it to be very solid. So yeah, I attached the pump, making sure to flip up that valve there to seal the pump to the Presta valve, and you're going to want to give all your strength. This is where some arm workouts come in handy. It's very hard to push the air in. So then you want to check and make sure that the tire is seated, so you can actually see the bead. You want it to be, you want to be able to see it around the rim. If you find that it's not seating and some of the bead is not seating properly, just give it some more air. You might have to play around with deflating it, adjusting the tire, reinflating it. So yeah, once I'm done, you want to make sure that you put the valve cap back on as well as the washer, and make sure to close the valve as well. And then you're good to go. And then, but also don't forget to close the caliper, because brakes are important for safety. A couple squeezes to make sure that they're even, and you're good to ride.